am Nilacala Devi Dasi, disciple of His Holy Spirit Maharaj. I am from all over. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. But when I was in high school, we came to Cape Town, and I studied in Stellenbosch, and that's how I came to Krishna consciousness. Before Stellenbosch, I'd actually read a book, quite cliche, called You Prayed Love, because the movie was coming out that year, so I wanted to read the book first, and it's a 3-part journey this woman undergoes. She's frustrated with her life as it is. I like the part about India, and then a few months after that, I went back to studying after I dropped out before, and that's how I met the devotees. And yeah, they were a bit strange, so I tried to avoid them. But they got me with the prasadam and got me hooked with the books. Yeah.
And what were you studying in Stellenbosch?
Initially, I was studying to be a winemaker. Did that for about a year. I decided it wasn't for me. So my father decided, he suggested that I take a gap year and figure out exactly what I want to do. So then when I went back, which is when I met the devotees, I had started a Bachelor of Arts degree, majoring in languages, English and Issaquah, which is one of our local languages.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So what was it about the devotees that sort of attracted you about, okay, let me take up Krishna consciousness?
Like I said, it's a long story, but basically when I met them, I was interested in doing yoga, which was also quite a process for me to even get to that step, because I grew up in a Christian home. I won't say I was Christian, I just grew up in a Christian home. I wasn't really practicing. When I got to varsity, I tried the whole religion thing for myself. I attended a church, got baptized. Then I took that gap year, came back, and I was like, I need something more. I've always had questions about God, about faith, about everything, but I never could quite get the answers I needed. Everyone just kept saying, like, have faith, believe. And when I'd ask what is faith, I couldn't even get a clear answer for what that is. And so when I met the devotees, I was interested in yoga. The first devotee I met tried to tell me about the philosophy, and I was quite rude to her. We're good friends now. I was quite rude to her, so I just attended the yoga for a few months. Then I thought, well, I'm paying a bit of money for this whole society, so let me check out the rest of what they do have to offer. So I did that around, I think it was May of that year, when I'd initially met the devotees in January. And then I went to a session that was more philosophical discussion. And like I said, I found it really strange, especially the mantra. It was quite foreign to me. So I decided I'm not coming back because these people are weird. But then the prasadam came out. And then I was like, okay, they're weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come towards the end of these programs so I can just eat their food. I did that for a couple of weeks, but I think my godbrother Hari Vilas caught up with my little scheme there, because this one day he ambushed me at the door as I was leaving. He's like, hey, we've got books, and he's quite tall and I'm quite tiny, so I couldn't go past him. So I was like, okay, I'll look at your books. And he offered me a Bhagavad Gita, a Science of Self-Realization, a Chant and Be Happy, and I know there was a 4th book, but I still cannot remember what the 4th book was. I tried reading Bhagavad Gita, I couldn't, too many names. It was also a bit, I wasn't ready for that. So then when I read the Science of Self-Realization, that's the one that got me. Because like I said, I had always had questions, and that book answered all my questions that I had. Was still not really like into these strange people, but I was like, there's something there. So I kept hanging out with him, and only the following year did I actually commit to following Krishna consciousness on Goropanim. And yeah, and I've been here now almost 14 years. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
And what's your service now? What do you...
So I've been part of this community for quite a couple of years, but then I had to leave because of personal reasons for about 2.5 years. So I recently came back, and so restarting my services. So currently I'm just a pujari at the temple. Previously I was also involved in student preaching and all that, but yeah, maybe that will come a bit later as well. Yeah.
And how did you meet Kadamba Kanana Maharaj? What was that?
Oddly enough, that year when I was like, weird people, don't want to associate with them, he came to Stellenbosch a lot, which was where I was studying. I think he came like 5 times that year, which is something I don't think he ever did after that. So Hari Vilas, who I mentioned earlier, had made me this DVD thing with like Hare Krishna, old school documentaries and different gurus, lectures and kirtans, and I somehow found myself listening more to His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj's one, but it didn't click that it's the person I'd met before until the next time I saw him, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the man I've been listening to. Yeah. Yeah, I think he found me a bit interesting as well. I was quite the audacious type, so I'd never spoken to him before until like maybe the 4th or 5th time he came, and I went up to him, I introduced myself, and because I've been reading about the guru-disciple relationship in the science of self-realization, I just got up to him and I'm like, I want you to be my guru. And then he just laughed at me, and I'm sitting there like confused. I'm like, this is a serious conversation, why is he laughing? But he was like, oh, okay, but I think we should get to know each other first. And if you change your mind and you want someone else to be your guru, that's okay. But if not, and yeah, here we are all these years later.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what made you want to, I guess, connect so closely with him?
He seemed really happy, like genuinely happy. And I was like, I want a piece of that happiness kind of thing. So I'm gonna stick with him and figure out how he does it so that I can also be happy. Not quite there, but yeah. He understood that I care as well, especially about women and children. So I can't say I ever got a specific instruction with regards to that, but he's always encouraged that. He's always encouraged me to take inspiration from other senior women in the movement, because that was my niche interest.
Who are you taking inspiration from?
Her Grace Rajalila Mataji, a disciple of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in America. And there's a few local women that I take inspiration from. My mentor, Rajavilasini Mataji. That's my main mentor, but yeah, there's a couple of other women that I take inspiration from as well. But I remember the first time I told him that I was associating with Rajalila Mataji. She has a project that she collaborates with WUSA, Wake Up South Africa, which is another project that Maharaj was involved in inspiring. So I told him about that yeah, never met her in person. So it's been like almost 5 years of online interaction and all that. So I was telling him about her that, oh yeah, I got to meet this person through this thing. And he was like, yeah, stick with her. Yeah. She's a good one, stick with her.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What do you see is supposed to happen for that importance to come up to make that happen?
Yeah. South Africa especially has sort of like taken some initiative over the last couple of years, say the last 5 years or so, in inspiring and encouraging women to take up like leadership roles, not because they are women, but because they've got something to give in Sri Lanka's movement. There are some initiatives, some formalized, some not, in terms of trying to make sure that children are protected and all that. So I'm not currently like very much involved in that because, like I said, I had some personal stuff to take care of, so I kind of left a couple of services. But I'm hoping to regain that. But yeah, like women, I feel have a lot to give. Like I said, some of the women that I've associated with, taken inspiration from, they show me that women have a lot to give, and yeah, hopefully they'll get more opportunities to show that they also have something to give in Sri Lanka's movement.
Mm-hmm.
So much of our efforts are involved in outreach, and that's very important. Sri Lanka emphasize that, and the devotees that have taken the effort, whether it's through devotee care, which is a formalized way, but there are other devotees who help other devotees in maybe not like formal structures, but I think that's important, taking care of the devotees that are here. I've had some challenges and stuff in spiritual life, and there were devotees that took the time to spend time with me, not necessarily to preach to me or anything, but just be there. And I think that's important.
You said just now it resonates with what Kadamba Kamar said about his disciples to be known as being kind. How does that resonate with you, to be a kind person, and how would you say that would affect the movement, I guess?
It goes a long way. Like I said, devotees that just took the time to just be my friend. That was very much important in helping me regain like my faith and all that. But yeah, kindness does go a long way. I think sometimes we focus a lot on the whole "we're not the body" thing, and that unintentionally breeds this callousness, like a lack of like real care. But yeah, I think we'll go a long way in terms of even outreach, in just like being kind and not, and people like that. I saw that in my student days. There were students who'd been with the society for like years, many years, and you could see they'll probably not take up Krishna consciousness now, but they appreciated the friendships that they made with the devotees there, and devotees caring about them as people and their interests. A lot of them like would play instruments. They weren't necessarily musicians, but they played instruments on the side, and then eventually, through that encouragement, they would bring the instruments and play in kirtan, and that was nice to see.
Also, March had this whole mission to help African-bodied devotees in South Africa, even creating a foundation for it. Since his physical disappearance, have you seen any sort of improvement in that area, or how would you see, his vision happen or manifest?
I can understand why Maharaj put in a lot of effort in that, because like I said, like looking at my journey coming into Krishna consciousness, it did look foreign, outwardly. It looked very foreign. And I guess having the space and the freedom to practice Krishna consciousness in a way that feels a bit more familiar to you as like a blood-bodied person does help, I would think. And I remember like years ago, there's a devotee who used to bring a friend of his to our programs, not all the time, but he liked philosophy, so he'd always bring them to the philosophical sort of stuff. And I would occasionally see him outside of that space, because he used to visit a friend that lived near me. And he'd always ask me, are you still with the Hare Krishnas? I'm like, yeah, and then I tell him I'm initiated now and this is what I do and whatnot. And he said he likes the philosophy. It makes a lot of sense to him. But he could never be able to be comfortable, but also to explain to his family why he's wearing the cloth and the markings on the forehead and like all this stuff. And I try to explain to him that like you don't need to necessarily feel like pressured to do that. That's not the important stuff. I also resisted that. I didn't even wear saris and stuff for like the first 2 years because I was like, that's not me. And luckily I joined in a community that was like pretty open. They didn't try to force any of that on me or try to make me feel like I'm not serious enough because I'm not dressed like them and that sort of thing. So yeah, finding a way to practice Krishna consciousness in a way that is appealing and comfortable to you is important. And I think Guru Maharaj saw that. And that's why he put in a lot of effort in making people feel like they belong and that they don't need to look a certain way or stick to a certain sort of box. And yeah, he always encouraged even the ones who seem outwardly crazy, one of them, he always encouraged them to just be who they are and take that and just give that to Krishna.
Oh wait, was there any interaction with you and Guru Maharaj? Some like nice memory or anecdote you could share?
Yeah, like I said, I was a bit of a menace in the beginning, and he didn't like shoo me away and whatnot. But over time, I learned to turn it down a bit. But he still encouraged me to be me. Oh, we were at Soweto Rath Yatra a couple of years ago. I think it was 2019. So I was helping another devotee who was arranging speakers for one of the tents and whatnot. So I'd been like going around and I had like a bit of a break. So I saw this huge group of people. So I was like, what's that? So I went to follow the group and I saw, oh, they're speaking to Guru. So the moment I get there and he notices me, he just says, Nila will do it. And now I'm confused. I'm like, what's Nila supposed to be doing? I'm like, what's Nila doing? And he's like, he needed someone to do something. And the person he initially asked was a bit apprehensive because the person they needed to deal with was a bit upset. So I was also a bit nervous about it. But I did go and do it and I was like, you can shout at me later, but Guru Maharaj said he needs this right now, so I need you to do that and we can sort out our issues later. So yeah, like I said, he always encouraged people to like just take up leadership and initiative and do things. So I thought that was like quite funny, like getting there and he's just like, Nila will do it. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. At the time, he couldn't personally get involved, which he's okay with doing, like mediating and all that. But he couldn't do that. So then he was like, he just needs this thing done, and he probably dealt with the whole issue later and whatnot.
Yeah, this is a good topic. Soweto Rath Yatra. How did you see how important was this Rath Yatra to Guru Maharaj? And yeah, what kind of vision did he have for this Rath Yatra?
So there's the famous story, I'm sure everyone's heard it, about how there was Soweto devotees that couldn't go to Durban Rath Yatra, which is the biggest Rath Yatra in the country. And I think the temple president had brought back a DVD, old school, a DVD for the Soweto devotees to watch, and they just had the time of their lives watching this DVD, and that's when Guru Maharaj decided that they actually deserve their own Rath Yatra. I wasn't involved for a very long time, I think maybe 3 years pre-pandemic, in helping with the organizing of it. But it goes back to what I said, like Soweto Rath Yatra offered the space for the Soweto devotees and other black body devotees, but also like the locals of Soweto to see Krishna consciousness in a way that they can relate to. And I guess that was also important on top of the Soweto devotees being able to have their own thing. But yeah, I saw Guru Maharaj in those few years really give of himself, not just financially, but himself, in making sure that Soweto Rath Yatra continued with all the challenges and everything, but like making sure that every year it happens without a doubt. So that inspired me to also try to give off myself, because initially when I got asked to assist by a god sister of mine, Charchand, I was like, not good with this sort of thing, but okay. But yeah, saying how Guru Maharaj does so much, but at the same time he gives the same sort of effort to everything. So seeing him do that for Soweto Rath Yatra also inspired me to do that.
Okay, I think we got some nice nectar. Thank you so much.
Oh gosh.
We could go for another hour, but I don't want to keep you. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish you all the best.